If you've tried herbal medicine and it didn't work, I need to tell you something. It's probably not because the herbs didn't work. It's because you were taught to use them like pharmaceuticals, and that's not your fault. Most of us come to herbalism from conventional medicine, and we're looking for natural alternatives, and we think about them the same way we think about drugs. Echinacea becomes natural antibiotics, valerian becomes natural Ambien, and St. John's wort becomes nature's Prozac. But plants don't work like that. And when we treat them like they do, we miss the bulk of the actual healing that they offer us. My name's Danielle, and I've been working with plant medicine for over 30 years, but not in the way that you might think. In this video, I'm going to show you why this herb for that symptom approach fails most people, what actually makes plant medicine work, and how to start thinking about herbs in a completely different way. If you're ready to understand herbalism beyond the green pharmacy, let's dive in. So a lot of us, because we're raised in Western society and we have that conventional Western medicine approach, we tend to look at herbs through what we call an allopathic lens. So an analogy that I like to use is when your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. The allopathic lens treats symptoms like nails, to be hammered down. If you have a headache, take a painkiller to knock it out. If you have acid reflux, here's something to suppress that acid. Can't sleep? Here's a pill that'll force you to fall asleep. But herbalism asks a different question. It asks, why is that nail sticking up in the first place? What is out of balance in the wood underneath? Because if we just keep hammering down symptoms without addressing the underlying imbalance, those nails are going to keep popping back up. And often they pop back up in other places. So it's very common. I have this symptom, I take this drug. And it's a very linear, reductionist way of looking at plant medicine. So reductionist thinking says, identify the mechanism causing the symptom, and then block that mechanism. High blood pressure, block the pathway that constricts blood vessels. But it never asks why those vessels are being constricted. Is it stress? Is it a mineral imbalance? Is it kidney dysfunction? Inflammation? One of the things that I truly love about herbalism is that it addresses the root cause of the whole system that's out of balance. And it's not just addressing that downstream effect of the symptom. So how this really got applied in herbalism is that people were looking for natural alternatives, right? We all know that our level of chemical exposure in our society nowadays is incredibly high. But when you use that same thinking and just apply it to natural substances, the translation gets lost. And that causes frustration when it doesn't work. So you hear it all the time, oh, herbs don't work, natural medicine's just a placebo. But the problem is not with the plants. The problem is the lens in which we're looking at it with. So the fundamental differences is most pharmacological drugs are a single compound. They target a single symptom. They're fast. They're predictable. Plants, on the other hand, are full spectrum living allies. They have hundreds, sometimes thousands of compounds. They work on multiple symptoms, and oftentimes they work in synergy, not only with other plants, but with the human body as well. So what plants do is they don't suppress those symptoms. They nurture your body back into balance. They build, they support, they nourish rather than override. They work with your body's own natural healing capacity. But the most important takeaway is that plants work on much more than a physical level. And this is, in my opinion, where modern herbalism fails. So we've looked at all these plants, we've done all the studies, we've tested them, and we reduce those plants to their chemistry. And by doing so, We've completely missed the other dimensions of plant medicine. So if you've been thinking about herbs in this way, it's not your fault. Very often, this is how herbalism is taught. Even the schools tend to keep this fact going, this the way they teach it as far as body systems. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that symptom relief. The problem is when you stop there, you're missing the depth of what plant medicine can offer you. So, a little bit about me. I worked over 30 years as a chef and a personal cook. I am certified in Ayurveda. And in Ayurveda, especially, we're taught that food is medicine. And that's part of a daily, tangible practice. People are unique. They are biologically individual. Same food and plant that have a certain effect on one person may not have that effect on somebody else. And that matters because everybody's constitution is different. Seasonality matters, quality matters, not just nutritionally, but energetically as well. And the intention that you're putting into the medicine when you're making the preparation. So food taught me that nourishment is personal and that healing isn't one size fits all. And that is the core belief that I have brought into my herbal practice. So before I got into cooking, before I got into herbalism, I was very much into my spirituality and working with plants in a spiritual way, working with plant spirits, the astrological spirit, the cosmology, deity work. So this was the foundation that I had with plants before I began using plants as medicine. Now, in my opinion and in my spirituality, I believe that plants are conscious beings. They're not inert substances. They are teachers. They are allies. And I have learned to listen to the plants, whether that be through my body, through my intuition, through my spirit. This wasn't separate from the physical medicine. It was foundational to it. About 10 years ago, I went through an incredible health journey, and basically Western medicine wrote me off. And I had no other options. I was told that I was going to be bedridden on a liquid diet for the rest of my life, which, and I worked tirelessly to heal myself and my body. And when I was finally able to partake in life again and I wasn't so incredibly sick, I formally pursued an education in herbalism. And coming from a background of 30 years in food and decades of spiritual work, the one thing that really shocked me was how reductionist the training was. Now, they're not all like that. I do have several people in this field that I really look up to. But a lot of schools, they teach you they match herbs to symptoms, and it's that green pharmacy approach. But I learned many valuable things. Don't get me wrong. What plants do on a physical level, the phytochemistry, the safety, the dosing, the contraindications, that clinical knowledge is necessary and integral. And I'm not dismissing the science at all. But I brought something else with me. And that combination of clinical precision and intuitive relationship, ancestral wisdom, and spiritual practice, to me, that's what creates medicine that actually works. So for the last 10 years, I've been evolving my herbal knowledge. And so some of the questions that I ask myself when I'm formulating medicine, things like, what does this plant do on a physical level, on an emotional level, on an energetic level, spiritually? And what is the person's constitution? Not just their symptoms, but their body type. What do they carry with them? What is the predominant constitution of that person? I also, when I'm harvesting, I look at days of the week, astrological phases, moon phases. I look at astrological alignments not only with current transits, but also with clients. And I think a lot about what ancestral wisdom do I carry about this plant? What is the plant's spirit telling me? And it really requires you to get silent and take your time in developing a relationship with the plants. But the one thing that I have found is that once you understand the plant as a whole being and the person as a whole being, you don't have to memorize endless lists. It becomes an ingrained, integrated knowing. And that is become such an important thing in my herbal practice. And it's something that I really don't see a lot of herbalists putting out there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the four bodies framework. So the four bodies framework, it takes into account the physical, the mental, emotional, the energetic, and the spiritual bodies, and the plant's effect on all four of those bodies. So as far as the physical body goes, most herbalism focuses here. They focus on phytochemicals, alkaloids, flavonoids, tannins, volatile oil, measurable effects on physiology. So we know that echinacea is synergistic with the immune system. We know that hawthorn works on the cardiovascular system, that milk thistle works on the liver. This is where our research, our studies, our clinical evidence come from. But as important and real as that is, it's not the whole story. One of the things that I really love about plants is they have such an incredible effect on the mental and emotional body. They affect our thoughts, they affect our feelings, our emotional patterns. It's not just that nervines calm anxiety. They shift how you think and how you feel within yourself. Milky oats, they're not just a nervous system tonic, right? It's part of an amazing plant. And oats and oat straw, Avena sativa, are incredibly nutritive. But the milky oat at the top of that plant, when it's spring and it's first coming out, it's not just a nervous system tonic. It literally helps you feel supported and held. St. John's wort is not just a serotonin increaser, right? It actually mentally and emotionally helps bring light into the darkness. And when you work with plants on this level, you're addressing the root of why the physical symptoms exist in the first place. And it adds an incredibly important layer to the healing. So next would be the energetic body, right? So we're talking about a little bit out from ourselves, right? Our aura. This helps with our ki, with our prana, with our boundaries. Plants can help you strengthen weak boundaries or soften rigid ones. Clear energetic infections, which is that absorbed emotions and energies that you pick up from other people. One of my favorite plants is rosemary. Common, you find it in the grocery store, but it's like a refresh button for your energy. It's been used for centuries in purification rituals, in temple cleansings, and protection work across Mediterranean cultures at a minimum. It clears out stagnant energy, mental clutter, and emotions that aren't yours. Especially helpful after being in crowds or hospitals, or if you've had to spend time with extremely negative people. It literally wakes up your senses and helps you remember who you are underneath all that borrowed energy. It's gentle enough for daily use, but it's powerful enough to also make a real difference. And it's those types of things that you really can't get. You can't buy that at Walgreens. I don't care where you look. And the last part of the framework is the spiritual body. So the importance of plants in spiritual practice are its connection to purpose, our ancestors, the divine, that higher power, that's something larger than ourselves. And when you develop a relationship with plant spirits, they work as teachers, as guides. I use them in shadow work. I use them in initiation, with transformation, things like mugwort. All right. Mugwort's a favorite plant of mine. It's Artemisia vulgaris. It opens you up to the dream realm. It helps increase your intuitive knowing. It is one of Hecate's herbs. It is Saturn and Moon ruled. It is the crossword goddess's plant for severing psychic attachments and clearing what you've absorbed at boundaries and thresholds. You can burn it, you can bathe in it, you can place it under your pillow to process and release others' energy through dreams. I will say to please avoid it while you're pregnant, and it can cause allergic reactions in some people. But mugwort is amazing medicine, both physically and spiritually. There are so many different examples. One of my favorite is yarrow. It's Achillea millifolum. It is ruled by Venus with some Mars undertones, and it's the healer's protector. This herb is protected by Bridget, and Bridget's herbs for empath and caregivers, anybody who absorbs pain or emotion from the people that they serve. It helps you create energetic boundaries while keeping your heart open. You can use it in baths, as a tea after healing work. It's generally safe, but it can cause photosensitivity in some, so be aware of that. And then herbs like bay laurel, right? Bay leaf, sun ruled by Apollo, the god of purification and prophecy. It gives us this crown of clarity. It burns away psychic debris and confusion and restores your connection to your own truth and vision. You can burn the leaves, you can add them to a ritual bath, you can wear them as protection, and they're very safe for most uses. Another herb spiritually that we can talk about is basil. It is ruled by Yamaya. It is also a Jupiter or Mercury ruled. Yamaya is an ocean goddess. This herb washes away what isn't yours, like waves cleansing the shore. Refreshing, gentle, restorative, especially good for clearing jealousy and envy and negative thoughts of others have projected onto you. And it's completely safe, culinary, and beginner friendly. And then one of my favorite ones would be the pepper family. Black pepper, pink pepper, white pepper, hot peppers. Those are Kali. Kali is the divine protectress. Mars ruled. The destroyer goddess's spice does not mess around. It burns through energetic cords, attachments, parasites. You can add it to floor washes. You can add it to baths. You can carry it in a sachet when you need fierce protection. It's safe in culinary amounts, and you have to be careful because it can irritate sensitive skin. So, a well-made tincture is harvested at the right time, extracted properly, blessed, made in relationship. It works on all 4 levels of the body at once. Way more powerful than a capsule made in a factory. When you take into account the physical, the energetic, the spiritual, the intention, your body, all 4 of them, responds to all of it, which allows you to get the healing from the plant that you need. And this is why I call them allies and teachers rather than just a substance. If you're thinking that this makes sense, but how do I actually do this? Let me give you some practical starting points. 1, stop asking what herb treats X. Instead, ask yourself, what does this plant do? Who is this plant? What can it teach me? Please don't Google herbs for insomnia. Learn about which plants support sleep and how they work emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. You will find that when you develop a relationship, your medicine will work a million times better. Get to know 5 to 10 plants really deeply. It's better than learning 100 herbs superficially. Pick 5 to 10 herbs, preferably ones that grow in your area, and spend real time with them. Grow them, harvest them, make medicine with them, meditate, read, work with them for a full season. Develop that deep relationship, and you're going to get an understanding that books can't help you with. The third step would probably be to consider yourself as a person, not just what symptoms you're experiencing. So plants that work for a friend might not work for you. Your constitution matters, the energy matters, patterns matter, not just in yourself, but also in the plants. That's why I use medical astrology. I always look at a person's birth chart because it shows you patterns that exist beyond their symptoms. The fourth step would be to work with quality herbs. Quality matters enormously. Organic or sustainably wildcrafted herbs, properly harvested at the right time, well extracted, the proper, whether it be alcohol, glycerin, or vinegar, a long enough maturation time, intention, blessing, prayer. Medicine made with consciousness works so much differently than assembly line medication. I always have incense burning and crystals and high frequency music going when I am making medicine. And I always, like I said, I time my medicine. I use days of the week, planetary hours, astrological transit to make sure that not just my intention, but the workings that I'm doing and the intention for the benefit of the medicine has all these extra factors adding to the quality of the medicine. And the fifth one is give it time. It takes time to learn these things. Plants work slower than drugs. And you didn't get to this point overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. Lasting change takes time. Most herbs take 2 to 4 weeks minimum for you to start feeling effects. Adaptogens and tonics can take months, and this isn't a flaw. It's because the plant is actually facilitating deep healing inside of your body. And the last point that I want to make is to trust your intuition. If a plant calls to you, pay attention to that. If something feels wrong inside your body, listen to that. Don't let experts or books override your intuition, because when it comes down to it, your body knows what it needs. So the next video that I'm going to make is going to be how to assess the 4 bodies within yourself. We're going to talk about specific plants, who they are, not just what they do, medical astrology and timing, ancestral wisdom, drawing on my French and Mediterranean heritage, divine feminine, shadow work, making medicine in your kitchen. These are all things that I am so looking forward to exploring with you. This channel is for people who want real herbalism, not trends, not quick fixes, people who want to develop a relationship with plants, people who understand that healing is a transformation. It's not just symptom suppression, and people who truly want to honor the intelligence of nature. If you are frustrated with herbs that don't work, now you know why. If you feel modern medicine or modern herbalism is too reductionist, we're bringing magic back. Resonate with science and spirit. So welcome home. So if this resonated with you, if you're ready for a different kind of herbalism, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. We're going to be diving deep into the 4 bodies assessment and how to identify where you need support most. And drop a comment below and tell me what's one herb that you've tried that didn't work the way you expected it to. I'd love to hear your stories, and I do read every comment. If you want to work with medicine made this way with clinical knowledge, ancestral wisdom, and spiritual intention, you can check out my apothecary, Gaia Sanctorum. It's at the link in the description down there. Every tincture I make is handcrafted and blessed and formulated with all 4 bodies in mind. And I thank you for being here, and I thank you for being open to a different way. I'm Danielle, and I'll see you in the next one.